Hello everyone, welcome to Redbus US channel. In this video, we'll look at the public charge rule that was cancelled by court yesterday. We'll look at the judgment and the background. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe to our channel for getting regular updates. So this is what we will cover in this video: the background, the summary of the judgment, what does it impact, and what are the next steps that are likely to happen. As you can see on the screen, this is the actual judgment document that was given by court. It's a 14-page document. We'll summarize the key points in it so that you can understand what exactly happened. So for all of you to get context, you need to first understand what is public charge rule. So what we'll do is we'll briefly touch upon the history of it, what it means, and what Trump administration has changed. So the concept of public charge is not new. It's been there in the US since 1880s, yeah. And over the period of time, what has been done is they added revisions and did some changes here and there, but they did not really change it significantly. The whole idea about public charge rule is that if someone is moving to America on green card or immigrant visa, they just want to make sure the person who comes to US is not going to be dependent on government benefits primarily for their livelihood. Basically meaning, somebody comes to US and does not do anything and just relies on food stamps and other public benefits without really working, these kind of things. So the US government wants to make sure that people are self-sufficient and they actually do not become a public charge or basically burden to the US taxpayers once they arrive in US. So this is a fundamental thing. And this is also assessed when somebody is interviewed at a consulate as well. Now, what changed with Trump administration is they actually did a lot of revisions to that, which are very, very significant. And the change this is set to impact about 400,000, general people who apply, and also up to 200,000, people who are getting married actually. So it's a very, very big change. And what they added is, so they defined a scope of a public benefit. They listed like about 6 to 7 items under that, and they say these are all public benefits. And if someone uses those benefits for over 12 months in a 36-month period, and they also do double counting as well in sometimes, right? And if you do that, then you will be classified as a public charge, subject to public charge. And they also, besides that, they also added other set of factors, and they would weigh in an applicant as positive or, they weigh each applicant based on his history. On some of these factors, such are based on them, they'll be like graded as positive or negative, and then they will give a rating at the end. And again, this is all very much subjective, I would say. And what they would do in this is they would look at the age, education, health insurance, all sorts of things, right? So here are some examples of that, right? So this is actually from the regulatory text. So as you can see on the screen, example of an applicant with A, who's 30 years age, is positive because he's less than 60 years old, and it's a neutral factor. And if you look at his assets, but his income is less, and credit report is positive. So again, these are just examples, right? And also another example is, let's say a person's age is 68, then you see that the factor is negative. So that's why they basically tabulate all of these aspects for an individual under this public charge rule, and then they make a holistic assessment if this person could become a public charge or not. Yeah. So it's very much subjective, and it's not clear, and it's going to really. There are a lot of flaws in it. Yeah. They're pushed through the rule. Yeah. So that is about the public charge rule. And the important part with this public charge rule is they introduced a new form. DHS introduced a new form called Form I-94, which is a pretty significantly large and lengthy form. And every applicant in the US who's applying for adjustment of status to get a green card has to use this form. And since this came in, this public charge rule in August, there has been a lot of lawsuits actually. Went back and forth. There were local, courts that put injunction on it. And eventually it ended up in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a judgment. It's not really like a judgment, but they just said that you cannot stay this, and DHS can go ahead and proceed. So it's like they did not give a judgment, but they said, DHS will actually take this and, go forward to implement it. And while the merits of this case are going to be looked at. Yeah. So this is what the Supreme Court said. So later it was again put on hold for some time by other courts and briefly due to COVID. And again, it was back, in September, they said it's effective again. And since then, people have been filing this Form I-944, to meet this requirement. Now, this there have been many lawsuits. I mean, this is one of the ones. This is the first one that we got the judgment, right? So the official title of this is Cook County versus Wolf. Wolf ETL, basically the last names, right? And this was filed in September 2019 in Illinois Northern District Court. And it was filed by Cook County as well as a group called Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. So it went back and forth, and the judgment finally came after a year. So the main crux of the case is it violated the people who put up the case. They said that it violated Administrative Procedure Act. So this is a very common one lately. With all the Trump administration regulations that they actually go through this APA, they fail to meet these things. So APA, fundamentally you have to follow rules. In APA, all it states is it has to be logical, it has to be reasonable, and you can't break rules. So that's all it states. Yeah, I mean, very simplifying it, like, for somebody who doesn't understand anything, right? In layman terms, that's what it means. You cannot break the rules. And as per that, they said that they just exceeded the authority, and it is not as per law, and it is not backed by facts. Essentially they call it arbitrary and capricious in legal terms. So these are the three things they said why it violated, and that's why it has to be set aside or it has to be removed. And also, based on these arguments, they supported their facts, but they just failed to justify what they've done. And eventually, they actually came to a level where they said the judgment has to be applicable only to Illinois residents and not people who are part of a lawsuit. But judges are actually smart, right? They look at all of these things, and the judge reasoning is that the term public charge. So this is the crux of the judgment. What they say is the public charge rule is very ambiguous and has been there for years. And DHS interpretation of public charge is actually they're doing violence to English language, and the statutory text. All they're trying to tell is they have actually DHS did not do a good job, and they have done a very poor job in interpreting the English language of that, and it's not compliant. And the DHS does not have authority to redefine the public charge definition. That's what it says. And also, if something violates Administrative Procedure Act, it is not for just one or set of people who are in a geography or a set of people. It is for everybody, right? You cannot just do that, applying public charge only for a certain set of people. Yeah, so that's a big argument. They referred, in fact, the judge referred to few cases in the Supreme Court to back this up. I mean, this is actual text from the judgment, as you can see, highlighted text. Term public charge is ambiguous, and the second part is, and it covers person who receives only de minimis, which is nothing but somebody who takes a very little benefit. So you can't really distinguish between somebody who takes minimum or maximum, these kind of things. And the public charge point does not provide DHS unfettered discretion. Essentially, gives them the right to redefine the public charge. Yeah. So this is what that looked at. So the second aspect of the judgment was equal protections clause. So this is again another one that was raised by the plaintiffs, essentially telling that okay, they actually have the public charge rule had violated this particular clause, and it tells that it prefers white applicants or non-white applicants. And DHS, the intention of this policy was to favor white immigrants over non-white immigrants. Yeah, and it impacts many people from Latin America, Africa, and all these countries where you don't, and is very discriminatory. This is the second one. But court did not give judgment on this aspect. What they said is, this is something they want to proceed if the litigation can proceed, but they're not going to give judgment at this point. So that's why they're going with this thing. And this is a judgment, as you can see on the screen. Summary judgment motion is granted, and they're vacating the final rule. What it means is that basically removing in legal terms, right? And it is effective immediately. Now, the impact is, if you're a green card applicant, especially for the ones who are in H-1B and other visas, right, who are trying to apply for adjustment of status, due to the dates of filing chart, the recent, visa bulletin thing, you don't have to file I-944 form. Going forward, that is the immediate effect of this. But again, there is no official update yet as of the recording of this video. Bloomberg News said that somebody in USCIS confirmed that they will abide by the laws and they will follow the court order. So there is no backing out of it. So we will expect that the USCIS web pages will be updated in the next couple of days. So stay tuned. So if you already submitted the form, then don't worry about it. But if you're about to submit it, just wait for a day or two and then take a decision on that. Now, what could happen next steps, right? So DHS will appeal, and very likely they'll appeal the court judgment, and it may go back and forth again, and eventually, then they may lose there, right? And then they may go to higher court. Usually, if Trump gets re-elected in this election, then there'll be more focus on this issue. and then it will probably end up going to Supreme Court. Yeah, irrespective of it may end up in Supreme Court, and if it ends up in Supreme Court, and then it's going to be very different. Yeah, unlike if the Democrats win, this may or may not be going to Supreme Court. So this is a possibility, but we don't know because the Democrats are not going to be opposing this. Because it's not really the right approach taken. So that's one possibility. And what is interesting is if this goes to Supreme Court with the new Justice Amy Coney Barrett, she has a very different view on this opinion that she was part of one of these appellate courts things as well, and she upheld that some of the injunctions and all. And her idea is court should not interfere in policy disagreements. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting how this will pan out if it ever goes to Supreme Court. Yeah, so that's the summary, folks. So in short, the rule is removed and it's not applicable to you anymore. You don't have to use this Form I-944. Hope you got an idea. Thank you for watching, and do subscribe for getting regular updates.